How pig feed is made on a small Iowa farm. Before today's hog confinement buildings that are supplied with feed from large-scale feed mills, small-scale swine farmers made their feed themselves, right on their own farms. With the help of some machinery and the corn from their fields, farmers could feed their pigs with little labor and cost. Today, very few farmers still feed their pigs this way, as confinements are fully automated. As a farmer running a small swine operation myself, this works well for me. I will be showing you the process of grinding feed in complete detail. Before the grinding process can begin, we have to wait until the feeder is low on feed. This way we can fill it to the top when we're done. We also need to check how much of each ingredient we are going to need. This can be found on a pig feed premixed bag label. We will be using the column for 100 to 150 pound pigs. There we can see the three main ingredients we need to make pig feed: corn, soybean meal, and premix. Together they should add up to a weight of 1 ton or 2,000 pounds. We will be using a New Holland 355 grinder mixer, pulled behind a Farmall Super M. Grinding feed is like mixing ingredients in a bowl for a cake, only this bowl is much bigger and we are working with a lot more stuff. The first ingredient we will put in the grinder is soybean meal. Soybean meal provides pigs with an ample supply of protein. Before we start loading, we have to provide power to the grinder scale to know how much soybean meal we've put in. Once the scale is balanced, we can begin loading the grinder. The scale weight should increase as we put more soybean meal in. The feed tag said we needed 350 pounds, so we will stop loading once the scale says we are there. We can now take the grinder up to the grain bins to get the next ingredient. Corn makes up the majority of pig feed composition and provides the pig with their energy needs. Once we start putting corn in the grinder, the actual grinding and mixing process can begin. The grinder is equipped with a set of hammers that break the corn down into a more fine substance. Then it is mixed with the soybean meal. The last ingredient for the feed is 1 bag of premix. This is where the vitamins and minerals come from in a pig's diet. The premix is put in the back of the grinder because it does not need any grinding, but instead simply mixes with the corn and soybean meal. We will have to wait a minute for all of the corn to get in the grinder, as we need quite a bit of it. Once the scale says we are at 2,000 pounds, we can stop the flow of corn and shut the grinder off. It is now time to go fill the feeder. Once the auger is lined up directly over the feeder, it is time to start unloading. After a few minutes, all of the feed should be in. We can take the grinder back to the shed and store it until the feeder is low on feed again. And the pigs can start having lunch. This method of grinding feed allows a small farmer like myself to produce feed for my pigs at a reasonable cost. It may be a method of the past, but it's still the best way of doing it for my current operation.